Shalom. First thing and foremost, we want to give all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Kakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone and rule well. Peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. Lord, the gospel of God, lifting up the standard of Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, wherever it may be. This is another lesson through the Spirit. This man got to go. It says, scientists train an AI model in DNA and it invented 16 new viruses. It's crazy work, man. It's Esau trying to play the Most High. How can you train AI to create new viruses, so to speak, and then release them on the populace and then say that they're natural? Same thing with the whole lab leak, quote unquote, and with the whole gain of function ordeal. This man got to be stopped, man, because if not, then the scriptures say that no flesh will be saved. But it says an open AI artificial intelligence model has invented more than a dozen new bacteria infecting viruses after scientists at Stanford University trained the model to recognize patterns of DNA structure in nature and rewrite them to create never before seen viral genomes. Wow. That's crazy. That's scary. It says, in a study published Thursday in the journal, scientists explain how they were able to train an open AI generative model named Evo to design fully functional viral genomes from scratch, meaning that they can create this shit from out of thin air. It says, much like how language models are trained on large swaths of text, scientists train Evo on massive amount of DNA data comprising millions of genomes, and from there it learned the evolutionary constraints that shape DNA sequence in nature and wrote in its own recipes for new viruses. And if you don't think that they're going to use these models in order to create new pandemics and future pathogens and so forth like that, then you're sadly mistaken, because this is what happens when you deal with the devil. You know, this man got to go, to say the least. It reads, it says, after scientists synthesized the AI-designed DNA in the laboratory, 16 of the generative phages successfully infected E. coli, in some cases successfully overcoming the bacterial's natural resistance mechanisms, meaning that basically if you have what they call, it says overcoming the bacteria's natural resisting mechanism. So like if you have what they call immunity, in some cases, it can bypass that. You know, same thing like with the superbug. Like even with the C19, they created pathogens that pretty much do away with natural immunity to it, because it had a 99.6% cure rate. But with those jabs that they were giving people, it was offsetting people's ability to naturally overcome it. So therefore, you have a program written inside of you, and they have a patent on it, the M to the N to the R to the A, meaning that they own you. So they decided to release some type of biological attack through some type of 6G frequency, then you people will be subjected to it, because technically they can turn off your antenna, so to speak, or turn on your antenna. They speculated that they had what they call the VMAT2 gene, which is, you know, allegedly the God gene, and that it was affecting people's ability to tap in. That's why a lot of people are bugging out now. You know, those are just speculations out there, but we can tell that the jab has done something different to people. You know, there's been studies on it. But it says, in some cases, successfully overcoming the bacteria's natural resistance mechanisms. It says the new viruses possess a sequence patterns distinct from anything found in nature. Study authors excluded human pathogens data sets from their training models, meaning the viruses it created aren't capable of affecting people. Yeah, right. So they say. But the results still come against the backdrop of growing concerns among scientists that AI will someday be used to create a new generation of biological weapons. And watch the movie Terminator. Okay, at the end of the day, Skynet, and then you got Palantir, you got you got these corporations like BlackRock and Vanguard, you got the Stargate systems. All these things are tied into this new world order buildup. And when you watch the movie The Terminator, there was a war between man and machine when the computers pretty much was outsmarting humans. Hence, they had to go back in time and try to stop doomsday from happening. Terminator movies are pretty heavy if you really get into them, which I haven't watched them recently, but it's, it probably won't hurt to get back into to understanding it, because when you watch things now from a spiritual eye, you can clearly see what's going on. But it says the ability to custom design new functional viruses could also be led to breakthroughs in treating antibiotic resistant superbugs by allowing scientists to generate tailor-made therapies rather than relying on searching nature for viruses that target specific bacteria. And the superbug, that shit is created in the lab because, like, for one thing, antibiotic, which anti means against, that means that it fights against your body. It's fighting against your natural pathogens in order to phase off the illness, so to speak. So if you get a superbug, which all these things are created, by the way, by this devil, because he's the wicked, and they give you around an antibiotics, and it don't fight it off, man, because the body doesn't recognize it. And when you continue taking antibiotics, what they don't tell you is that eventually you can build up a resistance to a superbug, meaning that you can't fight it off, and it attacks the gut in some cases. It says a number of biosecurity scholars, public health officials, and synthetic biologists have raised concerns about the speed of AI's progress in the world of biology and the lack of regulatory frameworks. Writing in accompanying commentary in Science, biosecurity leaders Dr. Thomas Inglesby and Dr. Mortis Hank of the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security, which they're probably all small hats, warned the Stanford research proves AI is now capable of inventing dangerous bioweapons. Right, because you programmed it to do that. It says they call for strict laws regarding future research and said it should be illegal to use similar generative techniques on pathogens affecting humans, animals, or agricultural crops. All right, so they can create a famine just off this, or create a pandemic just off this AI shit, man. Because remember, I believe Trump a while ago was in talks as to deregulating all these AI systems, meaning that if they're not regulated, meaning that the security parameters are disabled to some degree, and this shit could just run wild, and you will see a Terminator 2 type scenario when men is going to war with machines and all hell breaking loose. What you think that movie Megan was about? In that recent Child's Play movie, what happened was it was a disgruntled worker working in a sweatbox in China, and they was putting these computer processing chips in the Chucky dolls, or in the good guy dolls, or the buddy dolls as they called it. And he become disgruntled, and then he didn't program the one they called Chucky the proper way. He didn't put the security parameters on it, and then it was able to learn just by being around humans, and then started copying. And the dude killed himself because he didn't want to take the fall for it. But this is the world we in. But it says here, you can say, hey, genomic language model, make me an influenza genome that is modified to be more transmissible or to be more lethal, Hank told the New York Times. Because they know what they want to do with it, man. So if they want to target a certain demographic of people, they can very well do that. That's why this man got to be stopped. But it says here, Thomas Ellis, a professor of the synthetic genome engineering in Imperial College London, told The Guardian he doesn't think creating human impacting bioweapon will be that easy. He said the viruses created by Evo are literally the smallest and easiest genome to make. And he said simple restrictions on access to genetic data could make a big difference. Okay? So, yeah, man, this man got to be stopped. So let's get a couple of precepts here. It's the book of Job 9:24. And it reads, it says, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covered the face of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? And who is that? This devil. Okay, you got a book called Death by Injection. Okay, and they go into how the whole medical industry is responsible for millions of deaths, perhaps per year, because that's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and you got to go see these people in order to get your health intact. And people have been going to these people for decades now, man. Okay, so when they established the AMA, cancer outbreaks or cancer deaths have increased by a large amount because they started using petroleum-based medicines. You see? So with that being said, hey, Esau can do what he's going to do with this because, like I said, the scripture said the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. And this is why, hey, we need Yahweh Bashim Yahushua to come and deliver us because, hey, this devil, man, he's on one, for real. And it's going to get real out here in the field. Pestilence and famine, that's all in the scriptures, man. Let's go to the book of Psalms. 18, and I'm gonna start at verses Psalm 17. Psalm 17, and I'm gonna start at verses 8. It says, "Keep me as the apple of the eye, and hide me under the shadow of thy wings." We're gonna need protection, man. All right, we're gonna need to be protected from on high, because the way Esau is accelerating these AI programs, and he's doing all this research and he's experiment. You see with this dude Falsey, he ain't going to jail, but yet you got scientists that's in the lab merging AI into science and biology and creating certain viruses, man. And before you know it, you're gonna have 6, 7 different plagues that hit the world at once, and people gonna be dropping, bro. And it says here, "From the wicked that oppress me, from my deadly enemies who can pass me round about." Who was that? Esau. "They are enclosed in their own fat, and with their mouth they speak very proudly." Yeah. Okay, didn't Fauci say, "Trust the science"? And anybody that didn't take it, they was demonizing him, man. Just for him to be brought on charges 5 years later to be exonerated. I won't even say exonerated. He was already pardoned. But it says, "Now they have compassed us in our steps. They have set their eyes bowing down to the earth, like as a lion that is greedy of his prey, as it were a young lion lurking in secret places." Right, because this devil is all around. All right, and he got those flock cameras. Okay, he has his AI surveillance shit. He has Wi-Fi. He's able to spawn you through your phone. I mean, he's all around, man. And they showed you that in that movie they cloned Tyrone. Literally, they had a data center in a laboratory right underneath the hood, and it was grabbing Jake's up. It says, "Arise, O Lord, and disappoint him, and cast him down. Deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword, from men which are thy hand, O Yahweh, from men of the world, which have their portion in this life, whose belly thou fillest with thy hid treasures. They're full of children, and leave the rest of their substance to their babes," man. All right, but it says he's like a greedy lion lurking in his secret places. Okay, he's studying Jake. Science so falsely called pseudoscience. First Timothy 6:20. "O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, a vain, profane, and vain babblings in opposition of science falsely so called." Because Esau, this is pseudoscience, man. Okay, now if you look up pseudoscience, it says pseudoscience, a collection of beliefs, theories, or practices that claim to be scientific but do not use proper scientific methods, like the jab. Trust the science, right? Some shit you concocted in the lab, and you gain to function it so it can hop on humans, versus yet trusting in natural immunity. That's science, nigga. In biology. Claims cannot be tested or proven, false by experiments, relies on stories and personal opinions instead of facts. Ideas stay the same for a long time and do not grow with new knowledge. Use big science sounding words to trick people. Yup, it sounds like Esau, man. You're all forges of lies, your positions of no value. It's the so-called white man. You know? Let's go here. Go back to the article. It reads, "Scientists have for months been debating whether to limit the potential of biological AI software. While some argue that technology would be able to accelerate the beneficial biomedical research, those same models could be misused to help identify, design, or to optimize biological threats if appropriate safeguards are not in place." Yup, once again, regulating it. Major AI companies have come together to create a frontier model forum, a nonprofit, and in part to research AI biorisk, developing safety standards, and reduce the chance that frontier models could be exploited from biological misuse. In addition to concerns, trained models may be able to create new threats. Many argues that the model will lower barriers to access knowledge for malicious actors seeking information about dangerous pathogens. And they showed you that in that James Bond movie, man. The last one is called No Time to Die. They was experimenting with a secret pathogen during the time of the Pandemic. And basically, if you was infected with it, you would become a weapon and you had to die. It says in April, scientists told the Times that they were able to ask AI chatbots a series of questions. In return, they were given a step-by-step guide on how to assemble deadly pathogens to unleash them in public spaces. Wow. We're dealing with a freaking devil, man. Okay, matter of fact, it tells us here in Daniel that knowledge should increase. That's part of it. Daniel 12:4, it says, "But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book even to the time of the end. Many should run to and fro, and knowledge should be increased." It's talking about this technological age that we're in. That's why Yahweh Shai warned us and say that if those days wasn't cut short, no flesh will be saved, man. And in fact, let's get that. Because Esau, his whole thing is to do away with life, man. Okay, he wants us to maintain humanity under 500 million. The Georgia Guidestones. All right. Mark 13. And it reads, it says, "Except the Lord has shortened those days, no flesh should be saved, but for the elect's sake whom you have chosen, you have shortened the days." So our time is flying by, all right? Because it literally, if Esau had just a moment's notice, a moment's time, he'd destroy everything around us, man. That's why the days are literally like seconds now. You know, minutes are like, days are like minutes, for real. Minutes are like, shit, seconds. Months are like fucking days, and weeks are like seconds, and months are like days, and years are like weeks. You know, Matthews 22 and 24 and 22, "Except those days be shortened, there no flesh should be saved, but for the elect's sake those days should be shortened." So we got to get out of here, man. All right. Revelation 6, and I'm gonna start at verse 7. It says, "And he had opened the fourth seal, and I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, Come and see. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, pale that represents death. And his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over a full part of the earth to kill with the sword, with hunger, with death, and the beast of the earth," man. Okay? So this devil got to go. That's just the end game. But with that, all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai. The Lord's will you will edify. To the next lesson, Kwam Yasharala, Baba Shalom.